What's going on, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another video. Now, in today's video, we'll be focusing on TOEFL reading. So take out your notebooks, grab your writing utensils, and get ready to take some outstanding notes. Now, in today's video, we are not going to be reading several reading passages together because that's going to take up too much time and it's going to be very boring. However, in this video, I will be giving you 10 things that I want you to keep in mind from now on whenever you are reading a passage and solving the questions, all right? So let's get right into those tips. All right, tip number 1, understand the questions. Pay attention to every word, especially not and except. Now, this is number 1 because it is arguably the most important. I don't care how well you understood the reading passage. If you're not paying attention to the question that you need to answer, you're not going to get the answer. You're not going to get it right, okay? So please, number 1, understand the question, read every word carefully, especially if there is not or except, all right? Okay, tip number 2, do not forget that the TOEFL deliberately tries to trick you. So be suspicious of the answer choices that have the exact same words from the reading passage, because more often than not, that's how the TOEFL tries to trick you and make you fall into the trap of picking the answer choice that seems like the proper answer, but it actually isn't. After careful reading of those answer choices, you will quickly realize that they have many flaws and shortcomings, okay? So please pay attention to the answer choices as well. And don't just pick an answer choice because it seems to have a lot of the exact words from the reading passage, okay? That's a trap. All right, number 3, when studying vocabulary, first look at the synonyms before studying the definition. Why? Because all of the diction questions in the reading passage are about synonyms, right? It's all about what is the closest meaning to whatever word. That's how the question is given to you, right? So please study the synonyms instead of the definitions when you're studying new vocabulary, okay? All right, tip number 4. Now this might sound counterintuitive or maybe even unnecessary, but please start taking notes while you're reading the paragraphs. Now, the kind of notes that I want you to take is going to take place after you're done reading the passage, okay? So what I want you guys to actually do is just write down a few keywords that will help you remember the main point of each paragraph that you read, okay? This is going to be really, really handy, especially at the very end. Now, tip number 5, the questions are given in order of the paragraphs. So guess what? You can actually solve the questions while you're reading the reading passage. So you don't have to necessarily look at the questions first for the TOEFL reading, okay? That would actually be a waste of time. Number 1 is usually about paragraph 1, number 2, 3, and they go in the proper order, okay? All right, so you don't have to read the questions in advance. Solve the questions as you're reading the passage, because in the questions itself, it says, according to paragraph 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 okay? All right, so tip number 6, try to remember what the title of the reading passage is. Don't forget what it is because it's gonna help you read with a purpose, okay? So instead of just kind of actually pretending to read the sentences that are given to you, pay attention, remember, keep reminding yourself of what the title of the reading passage is and read with a purpose. Always try to get new information that's going to help you understand the title a little bit better, okay? All right, tip number 7, when you don't know the meanings of the words that are given in the diction questions, please start substituting the answer choice words and read the entire sentence altogether, okay? Now, that's going to help because once you do that, so once you start reading the sentence from beginning to end with those substituted words from the answer choices, some of them are just not going to make sense at all, okay? So that could be one way to eliminate some of the terrible answer choices and maybe give yourself a 50% chance of picking the correct answer. So this is the last resort. What I'm basically saying is pay attention to the context, okay? All right, tip number 8, understand what the question is asking you about and look for that specific thing in the reading passage, okay? All right, so this is a sample question. Let's take a look. Paragraph 3 mentions which of the following as creating the structural complexity of a forest. Now, for this question, the most important thing is the structural complexity of a forest, okay? So when you're looking at paragraph 3 for that passage, you should be looking for the structural complexity of a forest, okay? All right, now, tip number 9, the insertion questions are actually the easiest. all you really have to do is read the sentence before the black square, then read the sentence that you're inserting into the passage, and then read the following sentence. As long as you pay attention to those 3 sentences, you will not get that question wrong. As long as you understand what you're reading, you won't get that wrong, okay? So first read the sentence before the box, then read the sentence you're adding, inserting. Last but not least, read the following sentence and ask yourself if that's the proper order, if that logically makes sense to you, okay? All right, now, tip number 10. This is the last one, and it is arguably the most important to many of you guys because the summary question is the most challenging, right? Now, when it comes to the summary questions, the first thing that you absolutely need to do is pay attention to the introductory sentence for a brief summary of the reading passage. Now, too many of my students in the past have actually not even read this sentence, this very important sentence, because, I mean, their assumptions are correct. The last summary question basically wants you to pick the 3 answer choices that includes the major points of the reading passage. However, reading that introductory sentence for a brief summary of the reading passage is going to really help you to remind yourself of what the entire reading passage was about. So pay attention to that sentence, okay? Now, if you have been taking good notes after reading each paragraph, it's going to be pretty obvious to you what the 3 major points are. So this is exactly why I want you guys to take notes while reading the passage, okay? All right, so those are the 10 things that I want you to keep in mind when you're solving the reading passages questions. But here's one more. Here's a bonus. If you are having a hard time concentrating on the reading passages and the questions, please ask yourself why you're taking the TOEFL. Why? Is it to go to graduate school? Is it to get into university? Is it to get accepted to a study abroad program? Whatever the reason is, think about how important that is to you. And number 2, remind yourself how much it cost to register for the test. Those 2 questions and those 2 answers hopefully motivate you to pay more attention to the reading passage, okay? All right, that just about wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed the tips, leave a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you still have not done so. Share my content with your close friends and family members if they need the extra assistance. And if you are a self-disciplined and dedicated individual, reach out to me about my tutoring services. Let's get the score that you deserve as quickly as possible. Now, the next video is going to be focusing on TOEFL independent speaking questions. So if those questions are challenging to you, please stay tuned and be sure to check out the next video. Peace.